Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My Two Cent video for this week for the November 24th to the 30th. I do want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, whether it's basically we're spending time with friends or family on Thanksgiving, or if you had to work on Thanksgiving and all. I did too, and to me, I'm going to get double pay out of it, so I can't complain or anything like that. But in either case, though, happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there, including our fighting men and women in uniform, indeed. Excuse me. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover this week, including a interesting update for Cyberpunk 2077, ranging from sales to possibly some new shows, along with reports on Witcher 4. A report about LEGO Horizon Adventure, how that may have flopped, although it depends on how you want to read it, to be exact though. Rumors about the possibility of a launch or release window for the Switch 2 or the Switch successor, and a report coming out that Sony may be really pushing for the handheld part and may want to try to compete against Nintendo and everything like that. And if you're interested where I got a source of these information, links will be in the description down below in this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And if there's any part of this video you wish to skip to, I'll have timestamps at the beginning of this video or in the description as well. But before we get started though, I like to do what I like to call the quick My Two Cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details. The first one is that the Nintendo Switch Online library got some updates of some new games, which is kind of surprising to be exact though. The first one has to do with the fact that they are bringing Donkey Kong Land 2 to the Switch Online service, which is sort of interesting because last week we got the first Donkey Kong Land make it there. This week we had Donkey Kong Land 2. It does make you kind of wonder if next week we're going to have Donkey Kong Land 3. Now, granted, there's no guarantee that it's going to happen or anything like that, but I would be down if they were to bring Donkey Kong Land 3 next week and all. As far as the games go themselves, they're basically what Donkey Kong Country would be if it was running on, the Game Boy and everything like that. There are some limitations to it, but I will say I was impressed with what Rare did with the limitations of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color and all back at the time and everything like that. So it is an interesting title. I do think they are enjoyable and everything like that though, but you do have to acknowledge because of the limitation of the Game Boy, there are some changes they had to make and everything. The other games that we had this week also was basically 3 Genesis games made their way over to the Nintendo Switch Online service. The 3 are basically ToeJam and Earl, Panic on Funkatron, Vector Man, and Wolf of the Battlefield, Merc, and everything like that. Certainly nice to see some of these games come over, including Vector Man. I do remember there was a PS2 Vector Man in the work, but due to, I think, some of the response to it, that game got canceled and everything like that. And so we'll have to see if Vector Man ever makes a comeback. It's possible, given how Sega is reviving some of the franchises like Streets of Rage and Golden Axe and even Shinobi. Maybe Vector Man will get that opportunity as well. So we'll have to wait and see if Sega ever does decide to revive that franchise. But in the meantime, the first one's coming to Nintendo Switch Online service, and who knows, maybe Vector Man 2 will make its way over indeed. As far as ToeJam and Earl, we've seen somewhat of a revival. I think there was one ToeJam and Earl 3 Back to Earth to basically, I think there was one done by, I think, or published by Bunny Ears, if I'm saying the name correctly, and I think that was a studio or company run by Macaulay Culkin or something like that. So we'll see if those games make it. We'll see about those games, but hey, I believe the first and second one are now available on Switch's online service. We also learned that Square Enix is a little bit worried about oversaturating the gaming market with HD 2D games, and to some extent, I do kind of agree with that to a certain degree. I love the HD 2D style though. I think there are certain games that can work for it. Like, I would love to see Chrono Trigger get the HD 2D style treatment and all, but I can understand if they are oversaturating the market. So I do think they need to sort of take it take it a little bit slow with that, to be exact though. But I don't think they should abandon the HD 2D look. I still like it. I still would like to see more games with the HD 2D look, but I can understand if they want to be careful not oversaturating the market and everything like that. We also learned that the director, or at least the folks who worked on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, isn't talking about it in terms of coming to the Xbox systems. They're saying it isn't on there yet though, but the director clearly wants to see that happen though. Given the direction Square Enix has been going, as they now seem to be more focused on a multi-platform approach rather than just sign exclusive like they did with Sony, I do think that we will eventually see Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy, since they're working on the third one, eventually make its way to the Xbox systems. But when it does happen, I do think it will be most likely after the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, though. I think right now, again, I'm looking at, this is how I'm seeing it though, I think they want to honor the existing contract they signed with Sony, but I think once that game comes out, I do think we will see the Final Fantasy VII remakes make their way over to other systems. Most likely the Xbox systems, maybe the Switch successor or the Switch 2. I don't know 100% sure if that will happen, but I definitely could see it come to the Xbox eventually, but I think there's a very good chance that might be years away before that happened. Same view I have with Death Stranding 2 though. Now that Kojima Production owns the rights to Death Stranding though, I do think Death Stranding 2 will eventually maybe make its way over to the Xbox systems, but my guess is that's probably going to be years away as well. And finally, we learned that Piggyback, if I'm saying the name correctly, and Nintendo are teaming up to doing a Metroid Prime 1-3 visual respective art book. It will be coming out in the summer of 2025. I mean, some of these art books are kind of neat, depending on if you want to collect them or not, though. Being that I do enjoy the Metroid Prime series, though, this is one I might be keeping an eye out as well. So it is something for those who are into that and everything. So at least keep an eye out on this one, since this will be out sometime in summer 2025. And in the movie and TV show part of the Quick My Two Cent, we have a new trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that's coming out. I'm definitely looking forward to this movie. I'm very curious to see how Keanu Reeves voices Shadow the Hedgehog and everything like that. And of course, Jim Carrey playing Dr. Robotnik. I really think he hits it out of the park when playing that character indeed though. And I'm very curious about the person who I think is the loyal to Dr. Robotnik, because I think there's one scene where he's kind of shocked, and I do wonder if he starts questioning his loyalty to Dr. Robotnik or not. I don't know 100% for certain, but we'll have to wait and see. But in either case, this is one I'm definitely keeping an eye out, and I'm very curious, especially Keanu Reeves voicing Shadow the Hedgehog. We do have some reports on the box office, and it does seem that both Wicked and Mulan 2 and even Gladiator 2 seem to have done very well during the box office. So there were some folks who were kind of wondering how it would do for the Thanksgiving holidays and everything. But at least according to some of the reports from Deadline, it said that basically Mulan 2 splashes to 28 million, best Thanksgiving opening ever. It also has Wicked at 105 million plus, and Gladiator 2 at 45 million. So it does seem to be all three of those movies seem to be doing very well at the box office though. I have seen some more interest in Wicked and Gladiator 2, but I would stop short. It will reach it on the same scale as, say, what the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer was last year, the whole Barbieheimer phenomenon that happened. So I would stop short of saying it that way. But hey, great that these movies are doing well at the box office, especially for those audience who seem to enjoy it. And finally, there's a report from the Hollywood Reporter that from the director of Dune, who talked about why he turned down an offer to do a Star Wars movie, and some of it had to do with the 1980 or 1982 release of Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and basically saying how he felt like that was more targeted towards kids and everything like that. So it's an interesting read from the Hollywood Report if you want to check it out at all. Okay, and with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with, apparently it seems as though Sony may actually be trying again for the handheld market. Now, in the past though, we've seen Sony make an attempt with, doing their own handheld or try to take on, Nintendo, over the years, we know with the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, 3DS, and so forth, though. They did try with the PSP, and that one I think fared a bit better. It didn't overtake Nintendo, but it certainly did well. Compared that to the Vita, which it felt like after Sony released that system, they just dropped support and treated it as an afterthought. And since then, they, along with Microsoft, really has not entered the market or anything like that. And it just left it to Nintendo until, basically the Nintendo Switch came out back in 2017. That one is where I think handhelds took a different approach, because rather than just having a dedicated handheld and a dedicated console, we now have like a hybrid console handheld hybrid kind of approach, and that has really helped Nintendo and has really made the system a huge success for them. I think selling like around 140 million units worldwide. Don't know if they're going to overtake the PS2. I think that might be a tough hill to climb though, but it's certainly by no means out of the realm of possibility though. And of course, with the success of the Switch, we started to see a push for the PC handhelds, like Valve releasing, the Steam Deck to like the ROG Ally and all. So the handheld market is certainly different now compared to where it was before, the Nintendo Switch came out and everything. And now it seems, along with Microsoft, it does seem to indicate that Sony may be more interested in the handheld market than they were before in the past, though. In an article from Insider Gaming, it reads that, quote, Sony is gearing up to enter the handheld console market. A new report from Bloomberg states that Sony is developing a portable handheld that will allow people to play their PS5 games while on the go. Don't know if it may allow, when Sony releases, if it does get released, if PS6 games could make their way on this. But for right now, the rumor seems to be pointing towards PS5 games, though. According to the report, development on this new system is in the early stage. Sony's portable device is likely years away from launch, and the company could still decide against bringing it to the market, the people said, asking not to be named, discussing private plans, the report reads. It says that the development built on the PlayStation Portable, as opposed to playing games via streaming then from the console over the internet, although supposedly they've now offered an update for the PlayStation Portable, though. However, this new device will be an actual console that is aiming at competing with the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo's upcoming Switch successor. Bloomberg adds that the source told them that Sony's original plan for the Portal was to work as a standalone system like the Valve Steam Deck before it became its streaming device it is. Sony's declined to comment on the Bloomberg report, and this editor note from Tom Henderson reads, quote, the new PlayStation handheld started development following the highly successful launch of the PlayStation Portable, which exceeded the company's expectation. They also mentioned Microsoft and how the handheld system is still years away. Now, could this work? Could Sony's idea of playing PS5 games and all, could that actually work? I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like I said, handhelds are definitely in a different situation than it is different situation now than when it was before in the past. That said, though, I do have some of my concerns about this, though, if Sony is willing to actually go through with this and actually do their own handheld. Some of it has to do with the fact that Sony has a history of, once they release something like new for the PlayStation brand, they kind of treat it as an afterthought, though. Other times, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to overtake Nintendo. I mean, I remember how some people thought the PSP or the Vita would overtake Nintendo, and obviously that didn't happen. Again, things could change, but we in the past has shown that's not the case and everything like that. And also, if Sony is very serious about doing a handheld, I mean, in this day and age, with the whole console handheld hybrid that the Switch is doing and Valve doing with the Steam Deck. I'm not 100% sure releasing just a dedicated handheld and having a dedicated console will work as much as it used to back then. That said, if this report is true, it is still years away, so time will tell how the market is years away before it comes out and everything like that. And like they said, it may not come out at all. There's always a possibility Sony just might scrap the damn thing altogether now. So same with Microsoft as well. So we'll see. But you cannot deny the fact that given the success of the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch, it does sound like both Sony and Microsoft definitely want a piece of the pie. So overall, I do think if this rumor is true and Sony is developing a handheld, I do think there is potential, but I also do think there is risk, and I'm skeptical of whether it will be a success or not, given Sony's handling of some of their handhelds like the PSP and the Vita, particularly the Vita though, in the past. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with supposedly a claim of the release window for the Nintendo Switch or the Switch successor. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Switch 2 and the possible release date though. Now, ever since we've learned that Nintendo confirmed that the Switch successor has, it does exist and everything like that, many were wondering when Nintendo is going to talk about the system or bring the system, or talk about when they're going to release it and everything like that. And Nintendo really hasn't said anything other than it does exist and all. Many thought October they were going to talk about the system, but that turned out to be did not happen. And now many are speculating that they'll probably be talking about it next year, though it's always a possibility they could talk about it in December, but I personally think that's going to be unlikely to happen though. Well, recently, some rumors indicate the possibility we could see, assuming these rumors are correct, a possible reveal in January of 2025 with a possible release date in March and all. According to several articles, this one from basically Gamer Rant, it says that, quote, a rumor suggested that the Switch 2 will come out in the first quarter of 2025. Steven GEORG, a longtime streamer on YouTube and Twitch, recently made some comments on Twitter that caught the attention of many Nintendo fans. On November 22nd, this person tweeted out that he received an email from a developer about an upcoming game, which appears to include a line that hint at a potential release window for the Switch 2. According to the streamer, the email said that an unspecific game would be released in first quarter 2025 on PC, Steam, Xbox One, and Series X and S, and PS5 and Nintendo Switches. The fact that the streamer used the term Nintendo Switch in plurality form and not singular form, Steven's suggestion was a sign that it's a reference to Switch 2 and everything. Meanwhile, supposedly Nintendo Prime, for VI like Gamer Rant, supposedly in a new rumor from him, it says that, quote, it says in this report though, it was said that Nintendo is planning to announce the Switch 2 to the public at some point in January 2025. While the window seems feasible, what's surprising is it's associated with Nintendo Switch 2's release date. Specifically, this rumor to go on to state that the new Switch hardware will arrive only 2 months later in March 2025. However, it is worth pointing out, at least according to Gaming Bible, they point out that, quote, this rumor was noticed that this rumor, at least the Nintendo Prime one, had been machine translated from Chinese and has not officially been translated, but Nintendo Prime is pretty adamant about its findings. The translation goes on to reveal that there are already shipment of the handheld in various regions, and they come in at around 650,000 units if we compare this to the number of units of the Nintendo Switch back in 2017, which was 2,740,000. This is quite Quite a difference though. Last but not least, the rumor ended with claims about the Switch 2 components. Components have already been made in hundreds of thousands since September, and successor consoles 239 SoC chip has been shipped in large quantities. Now, granted, a lot of these rumors have to be taken with a grain of salt. There's no 100% for certain if these rumors are necessarily true or not. But I will admit it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. One thing I have noticed, at least with Nintendo, is when the Switch was announced, the original one back in 2016, shipped in 2017, Nintendo was pretty much in a different position back then. Clearly, they wanted to move on from the Wii U. There was no denying that, though. And nowadays, given where Nintendo is right now, with the Super Mario Bros. Movie killing it at the box office last year, to basically where the Nintendo Switch is right now, with 140 million units sold worldwide, though, Nintendo is certainly in a different position than where they are at this time. So it does seem to indicate they're going at a different pace. Maybe not rushing out quickly as they were back in 2016, 2017. Though it does remain to be seen how long they could stretch the Nintendo Switch out and everything like that. In regards to these rumors, I would take these with somewhat of a grain of salt. While it's not out of the possibility that a presentation could happen in January 2025 and a release date in March of 2025, I am somewhat cautious about this, considering, as I mentioned before, the kind of position Nintendo is and where they are right now. So I somewhat remain skeptical about these rumors, though, but I'm not going to outright dismiss them in its entirety, though. So overall, very interesting, though, about this rumor, and certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but I would still take it with a grain of salt, nevertheless. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with Lego Horizon Adventure, and supposedly it seemed to have flopped, at least on the PC. So we'll take, or at least that's what they're saying about on the PC. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Lego Horizon Adventure, and apparently, at least depending on how you want to look at it, some are considering this game flop, though. Now, when Lego Horizon Adventure was announced, though, I thought, okay, it was another attempt at Lego doing something completely different. But what kind of surprised me on that announcement was it was coming to the Nintendo Switch, which was like, whoa, that's kind of interesting indeed. A Sony first-party game making its way over to the Nintendo platform, not counting MLB The Show or anything like that. That's more of a licensed game from Major League Baseball and all, but this one being a Sony first-party game or an IP from Sony, making its way over to Nintendo consoles. For some reason, they didn't decide to bring it to the Xbox, despite Xbox bringing some of their games over to their system and everything like that, with recent rumors pointing to Forza Horizon making its way over, although we don't know 100% if that is true or not, though. So it was sort of interesting to see it. I have tried some elements of Lego Horizon Adventure. I recently got it for the Nintendo Switch, and it is interesting. I like what I'm seeing so far, but I gotta dig more into it, though. Now, as I mentioned, it is on the PS5, the Nintendo Switch, and the PC as well. So they brought it to like multiple markets. And well, if what we're seeing is true, it seems as though the game may have flopped, at least on the PC side, if this is 100% correct. According to several articles, they are pointing towards the Steam chart numbers that have just been released, though. Pointing out other than fairly dismal review scores, although sometimes I think review scores can be hit and miss and all. But they point out that the Lego Horizon Adventure managed to peak concurrent player count of 602 on Steam in almost 2 weeks since its launch. This past week, it's basically barely made it to 200. They're pointing out how this one is basically did worse than Concord. However, other articles have pointed out that Lego Horizon Adventure is not a multiplayer shooter, and this is a game for kids and everything like that. So it depends on how you look at it, though. I mean, are these bad numbers? I mean, I'm not a PC expert, but you could technically argue that these are bad numbers, but I do agree this isn't a multiplayer shooter or anything like that, so maybe these are okay numbers, but again, I'm not a PC gamer, so I don't know 100%. And if this one, the type of some of these articles I'm a little bit iffy about, mostly because they're only pointing to the PC side of it. I am very curious to see how it did on the console side. How well did the game do on the PS5 and the Nintendo Switch? So I'm very curious to see how well the game has done on those systems. Indeed, I mean, it is a possibility those games may have done very well on the Switch and the PS5, but again, we'll have to wait until the numbers start coming out. I'm very curious to see where it will stack in the Satana numbers, especially when November 2024 Satana numbers come out. So it'll be interesting to see exactly where Lego Horizon Adventures stand, though. So does it look like it flopped on the PC? It is a possibility, but there's certainly a lot of factors to take in, considering that Lego Horizon Adventure is not an online multiplayer shooter or anything like that. So the number, it might be a bit different and all. And it is true that Sony has had sort of a hit and miss when it comes to basically putting their games on PC. Some have found success, like Helldivers 2. Others, maybe not as much, or some have not been handled well, like I think The Last of Us Remastered was a piss poor handling in terms of porting that game over to the PC. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what the Satana numbers are, especially to see how well it did on both the Switch and the PS5. So, overall, one would argue that Lego Horizon Adventure is a flop, and that's a possibility. But since we're only basing it off the Steam chart numbers, I'm kind of curious to see what maybe the numbers might be different on, say, like I said, the console side, the PS5 and the Nintendo Switch. And finally, I also do think that Sony should release this game onto the Xbox console. If Microsoft is going to release some of their games onto the PS5 and Switch, I think if you're going to release Lego Horizon Adventure on the Switch, why not bring it over to Xbox? I think they should. At least that's my view on it, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with Cyberpunk 2077 and some stuff from CD Projekt Red and everything. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be talking about Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this Cyberpunk 2077 is a very interesting situation that game went through, though. It was, originally announced of the next big project from the developers of the Witcher series, CD Projekt Red, but when the game came out in 2020, it came out in a pretty bad state and everything like that. And while I definitely applaud CD Projekt Red for actually fixing the game, making it much better, it is definitely a better game now than when it originally launched. I do think the backlash and criticism was justifiable in terms of how that game was shipped and everything like that, and I do think consumers had a right to be angry. But since then, we've seen, like I mentioned, the developers have put time and effort to fix the game. The update 2.0, along with the Phantom of Liberty expansion, and even the Netflix series Cyberpunk Edge Runner definitely helped bring this game back to life and everything like that. So props go to CD Projekt Red for really fixing the game and so forth, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I like the lore of Night City and everything like that, and I would definitely be open to seeing more of Cyberpunk 2077. go down the road and everything like that. Same with like Witcher, particularly with Witcher 3 and everything like that. And recently, CD Projekt Red has given us some updates on what they are working on to basically Cyberpunk 2077. And it's been reported that the game has basically sold over 30 million units. Said basically the CEO of CD Projekt Red said in a statement, according to what the CEO has to say, and this is from him. In less than 4 years since release, we've already sold 30 million copies of Cyberpunk 2077, and as for the Phantom Liberty, in just over a year, it has sold over 8 million copies. These are impressive figures. I'm very happy to see a large dedicated community consolidate around our Cyberpunk games. In the coming years, the base game along with expansion will be released to a new group of users, owners of Mac devices powered by Apple Silicon chips, which is kind of interesting, and we'll see how well that one does in the Mac though. We've seen over the years some companies have released their games under the Mac, but we've also seen some supposedly mixed results though. I think Capcom has released several Resident Evil games on the Mac, but we've also seen supposedly sales-wise the game didn't do as well. So we'll have to wait and see how when Cyberpunk 2077 and the expansion does come to the Apple computer to see how well that is received from the Mac community and everything like that. In terms of other things with CD Projekt Red, though, it is learned that The Witcher 4 has basically entered full-scale production, though, and says that Project Polaris, the first install of the new Witcher series, has now progressed for pre-production to full-scale production. The CEO says, quote, "I'm proud to confirm that several weeks ago, the Polaris team wrapped up pre-production and moved on to full-scale production, the most intensive phase of development. We are very pleased with our progress on this project. I wish to thank the team for its dedication." The other game director said, "I'm thrilled to announce that Project Polaris has entered full-scale production phase with new challenges just around the corner. It is the talented and hardworking people who make me believe we can together make the upcoming Witcher saga a remarkable experience. No stopping now. Stay tuned for what what's on the other side of the coin." They point out that 400 developers are working on it, the majority of its 650-person total staff, though. That's down from 410 reported at the end of July. 64 are working on Orion, the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. 42 are on Sirius, the Witcher game developed by the Mossad Flood, if I'm saying that incorrectly. And 18 on Harda, CD Projekt's brand new IP. Although they also mentioned there's no plans for a PS4 patch for Cyberpunk 2077. So certainly that's nice that the game has entered pre-production and everything like that. Same with the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. I am kind of curious to see how the game will run on Unreal Engine 5, because I believe that's where they're going to be using that engine, and it'll be very interesting to see how well that game runs on Unreal Engine 5 and all. I mean, we've seen some games run on Unreal Engine 5, some done well, some haven't, so it'll be very interesting to see how CD Projekt Red handles it, though. And I'm also hoping that they've learned their lesson from the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 when going into their next game, at least when it comes to the issue of crunch and everything like that. I'm hoping, though, but time will ultimately tell. And last but not least, we also basically got some interesting information in terms of a new animated series based on Cyberpunk 2077, and it is basically being done by Netflix and everything like that. It's basically pointing out that they basically said, and I think this was the CEO that says that, quote, "I am also very happy to announce that we're working on another animation project set in Cyberpunk universe, which will be released on Netflix. Netflix previously teased plans for the new Cyberpunk collaboration with CD Projekt in September. They didn't confirm if the project is another collaboration with animated company Studio Trigger. The Tokyo-based company animated Cyberpunk Edgerunner, a Netflix series hit, was contributed to a boost to Cyberpunk 2077 sales following its release in 2022. So, and also I've been hearing there are plans for a live-action Cyberpunk series, like Cyberpunk show as well, which I wouldn't be entirely against either. I am kind of curious to see how this Netflix collaboration is going to be, though. I do hope it's still with Studio Trigger and all, because I thought they did a really good job with Cyberpunk Edgerunner, and I wouldn't be against if it's maybe focused on, if they do a continuation of Edgerunner. I wouldn't be against if they decide to focus on Lucy, basically the female character from Cyberpunk Edgerunner, or maybe do one like before the events of Edgerunner or anything like that. I think there are many stories they could tell of Night City and all. So it will be very interesting if that happens or not, but it might be something completely different. It might be a different studio and all. So we'll have to wait and see when that does happen and all. So overall, some pretty good news for CD Projekt Red. Cyberpunk 2077 is doing very well for CD Projekt Red. Obviously, selling over 30 million. We do know they're working on a sequel. We know that Witcher 3 is entering production. Not Witcher 3, Witcher 4 is now entering production, and we'll be very curious to see how that one plays out. And nice to see there will be another animated Cyberpunk series on Netflix. As I said, I enjoyed Edgerunner, though. Remains to be seen it will be with the same studio that did Edgerunner, but I'm hoping that is the case, but time will tell. But either way, obviously good news for CD Projekt Red and great for Cyberpunk 2077 and of course Witcher 4 as well. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Sony's handheld and the possibility they want to compete against Nintendo? Do you think this rumor is true in any way? Do you think Sony can actually have a handheld compete against Nintendo? Do you think this handheld will see the light of day, or do you think it's unlikely it will ever see the light of day at all? What are your thoughts about this release date for the Switch 2? Do you think this rumor seems accurate? Do you think it's possible, or you're not 100% sure Nintendo is going to start talking about it in January 2025 with a release date at around March 2025? What are your thoughts about Lego Horizon flopping, at least what some people believed on PC? Do you think the game definitely was a flop, or do you think some people are blowing it way out of proportion as they're only pointing towards what could be just the PC version and not the Switch or the PS5 version? And what are your thoughts about some of the comments about CD Projekt Red in regards of the Cyberpunk franchise and Witcher 4? Are you glad that Witcher 4 is entering production right now? Are you pleased to see Cyberpunk 2077 reach over 30 million units sold worldwide? Are you pleased with where Cyberpunk 2077 is now? Do you think the game is better than when it originally launched? And are you happy that Netflix and CD Projekt Red are teaming up again to do another animated series in the Cyberpunk universe? And do you think it should be the same studio that handled Cyberpunk Edgerunner? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.